Welcome back to the NFT Talks podcast. And today I have two great guests talking about a subject that I'm passionate about. And it's also involving NFTs. They are representatives and founders from Rough Diamond. I think you're one of two founders, and it's a pleasure to have you guys here. How you doing?
Doing good, Sean. Thank you for the invite. Happy to talk with my partner Andre about what we're building here with Rough Diamonds in Brazil, and of course, looking forward to expanding it throughout the world.
Yeah,
thanks for.
I'll go on to jump in, Andre. You're gonna
No, I was just gonna say thanks for the invite. We're really excited to be chatting with someone that is like deep in the space, is producing content. I think the industry need a lot more people like you, Sean. It's all about educating at the end of the day and bringing awareness to the space.
Yeah, 100%. I 100% agree, and it's also bringing it different ways, rather than just looking at art, of way we can use this technology. And this is something that I've been passionate about, thinking about for a long time, is how is it going to look within the sporting industry? And obviously with your guys' project with Diamond, it's cultivating and helping up and coming football players, but it's also involving the fans, because when I think of football and it comes to fandom, like there's no other fans like football fans, as far as I'm concerned. And Web3 is a great way to conversate and offer value on both ends, one for the career of the footballer, and also the fan supporting it. And you guys have obviously come with the project in a great way of doing that. So I look forward to you guys jumping into that and explaining how that all works. But before we actually go into the ins and outs of how the project works, I always like to understand the background, obviously, where you guys have come from, and how did you find your way into Web3? Because the story is always interesting.
Let's go. I'll start here, and then Andre can. Actually, Andre and I, we met in college.
Okay.
We were playing soccer in California for a collegiate program, and Andre was a goalkeeper. I was a forward, so we've always been involved in football. So it's always been something part of our lives. We actually went different paths in our career. Andre became an executive, a director. Went to corporate world, and I decided to be an entrepreneur. Went back to Brazil after graduating college in the US, and then started sending kids and doing the same process that I had just done, that Andre was just doing as well. So helping kids finding scholarships in the US from Brazil mainly, and then we opened a few units in Portugal, expanded the company there. But I really wanted to deep dive into the tech world. I mean, I looked at my phone, and most of the apps on my phone were like 11, 12 years old. And I was like, I'm missing something here. And I really want to deep dive into the space. Had an opportunity to work with La Liga. We built some very cool application to identify talent in Brazil. And that was during the pandemic. So we had to pivot the model and find new ways to connect the business that we built, the relationship with the players, with the agents, with the clubs. And that's when the moment that I get to Andre, and I was like, hey, you are working in Web3, in NFTs. Where are the opportunities here? Tell me more about the market. And that's where I fell in love with everything. I started studying a lot more about the subject, about Web3, about blockchain, about NFTs, seeing everything that was coming up with the so rare cars. I'm a big fan of the collectibles industry. And then we started working together and building the Rough Diamonds. I'll let Andre introduce himself as well.
Yeah, absolutely. My interest in crypto and NFTs and Web3 as a whole, I would say, started a few years ago, around 2019. I would say I'm not that guy that's been in Bitcoin for like several years and been in crypto. I'm not that guy. I was in emerging technology before, a boutique agency in New York City. And I was working on a lot of voice projects, Amazon Alexa, Google Assistant. And I was really deep into the space, working with companies like Warner Music Group, HBO, and other media and entertainment companies. And the big thing for that space, and was a very tight community, was around adoption, use cases, and other companies jumping into it. And I waited for a few years. I wanted to see how the market played out. And unfortunately, I noticed that it wasn't going the way that I actually predicted and expected. And I made the move to go to a larger production creative services company called Media Monks, which does a lot of different future-facing projects in terms of innovation, production, metaverse builds, immersive technologies, AR, VR, you name it, the company can build it. And I was lucky enough that I was the guy that the agency that raised his hand early last year saying this NFT thing sounds pretty promising, right? Like I expected voice to go that route in terms of adoption, and I'm seeing that happening with crypto and NFTs, and I'm not going to miss the boat this time. So I was really deep into the space from January to May. That's pretty much where I spent all my free time. We end up working with several like large companies, startups, NFT studios, helping them from 3D production to actual NFT end-to-end solutions. And when Bruno came talk to me around Christmas of last year, it was a no-brainer. I already had my mindset into taking the next step of my career and going like 100% into Web3 and NFTs. And that's how we got together, and Tether Labs was created, and Rough Diamonds is the first property IP that we're launching in the market.
Okay, amazing. So just to I just want to ask you a question, Andre, but coming from a Web 2 background, and obviously, how long did it take, or would it happen straight away for the penny to drop for you to understand? Because I speak to a lot of people Web 2, and they're struggling to understand what's happening here, and how do they translate their current business to Web 3? So how did it work for you?
I was actually, for me, it was not even Web 2. Like I've been a gamer since I was a kid, like in 03, 02, I was already playing, RPG, like multiplayer games. And it was easy, the concept of internet money for me. Like I've been doing this since I'm like 10, 11, 12, 13. So it was a natural transition. I was like, I've seen this before. That was not Web 2. That was like Web 1, actually, when all these technologies were being created. I remember playing with dial-in internet, and whenever that went down, it was a nightmare. I was like, I really care about this game and my assets and my items here. And never like I would die. It was this game called Tibia, which was pretty big in Brazil and Europe, not so much in America, but was a massive game. And that was really important in my life. So like the concept of virtual goods and digital assets were pretty easy to understand coming from that background. From a business perspective, it was just more, okay, there are a lot of things that happen in Web 2. They're not the most optimal way, especially around creators, I would say, and the way that monetization happens in these platforms. So whenever I saw a new alternative, it made a lot of sense as well.
Yeah, I agree. And the fact that you just mentioned about the digital assets and playing games, I was a gamer. I played pretty much PC games, and also played like games on PlayStation. And I think the early stages of me realizing how much value, how much I cared about these assets, is when you got the memory cards. And if you guys remember, the memory cards you used to put on the top of the PlayStation with the pads, and if you ever lost your memory card, it was waste.
Life was over.
It wastes 100 hours of your life. So yeah, that is early case studies of like where the value was. The value was already there, and people value this, whether there was money behind it or not. It's just the time you invested. There's definitely a demand. But yeah, guys. Okay, so thanks for the intro. But let's go straight into what you guys are doing, man. Because I'm excited to talk about Rough Diamonds. Because there's a lot of things that I think you guys have, that the approach you've made, it makes sense, and it's the right approach, because it still has the ethos of Web3 in regards to helping people. Because it's not a case of a cash grab. This is a big IP. It's worth a lot of money. Let's sell it, make as much money as possible, and that's it. You guys are kind of covering helping people in real life, but adding value, but using technology in a great way. So yeah, if I do for Bruno, you want to start of just kind of introducing the project and talking about what you guys are doing?
Sure. Yeah. When I talked to Andrea, we started to look at the market, and we started seeing like what's going on. Like what are the companies? How are they entering the space? How are the players, the athletes, the agencies? How is everyone getting involved and learning about the space, and what are they doing? And meanwhile, and we started seeing a lot of projects that, didn't make a lot of sense in our opinion. Some of them did make a lot of sense, and they were growing very fast. Mm-hmm. But some projects didn't make a lot of sense. They didn't really need to be an NFT. Most of them, the use case wasn't there, and we're looking at that and we're like, this doesn't make any sense. So, and a lot of them didn't have the vision, didn't have the long-term vision that we would aspire, that we wanted to build with. So we're like, okay, what do we have that is differentiated, that really can make this project different? And we're like, okay, we're from Brazil. Andre has the experience on the NFT side. I have the sports experience. I've been a collector my entire life. I was collecting Panini cards with the albums and exchanging with my friends, collecting soccer jerseys. So we're like, okay, we have the perfect experience. We have the relationship with the agents, with the players, And we are from Brazil, as I said. So what does Brazil do best? They produce great talent. They produce the best player, the best footballers in the world. So we have to leverage that. We have to use that, and that for itself is a long-term thing. We're going to work with the biggest youth players, the best potential youth players in the world, and we're going to transform them into NFTs. So we're creating the community around this. We're creating an IP around the community, around the NFT, and bringing everyone in, bringing the fans, as you mentioned in the beginning, bringing the fans to own the game, to own the players, to have this direct relationship between themselves, and have exclusive experiences as well. So, and on the other side, the players, they have a huge interest and a huge need to finance their careers. They don't know what's the next day going to be like. They don't know how's their next year going to be like. It could be a huge success or it couldn't. So how can we connect those dots and create an IP on top of that, that allows fans, that allows people to enjoy it even more, what we're doing. So it's a set of 101 NFTs. We onboard the players into Web3. We not only use the license of the players, we're not only getting to the player and say, hey, we want to use your image, come here, we're going to produce your NFTs. No, we are partnering with the player. He's a 50-50 partner with us. So every revenue generated into this program, into this company, goes straight to the player's wallet. Not only that, but the rarest of all of the NFTs also is player owned. So instead of doing the 1 of 1, we're going to do the 2 of 2, and 1 of 2 goes straight to the player's wallet, and he decides what he's going to do. If he thinks his career is going to explode, he keeps it. If he thinks it's not, it's at the peak at the moment, sell it, So it's up to them. And the token holder on the other side gets exclusive experience, exclusive memorabilia, and a ton of new things that we are developing for the community. So that makes us very excited, and a plan to expand it to other countries and potentially to other sports as well.
Yeah. What I really love about this, Bruno and Andre, is the gamification side of it. Like, as a fan, as a football fan myself, like, I get excited at the thought of, like, okay, then, because there's, as a fan, and you probably guys experience it yourself as fans too, also, if you play football, you've always got so much to say about how a player's doing, or how a manager should put this player on, and you believe in this player. So it's a kind of thing, why it is, put your money where your mouth is. But you can also support an upcoming player. So the early stage of this, any of you guys play like Football Manager? You come across that PC game?
Absolutely. Yep.
And I think that your most proud moments on there was finding that gem, that diamond player that nobody knew about, that you could kind of get in your team, and then you'd sell him on or become the next star. And this is like a real version of that, whereas you can kind of invest in a player, but it's almost a real investment, because if you believe in that player, you follow their journey, and that player becomes what you believe they're going to be, then that NFT will grow in value potentially. Is that right? Is that the kind of angle you guys are going down?
That's definitely one of the ways that we see, the asset appreciating, and the whole like product creating, a lot of traction, is like we're really tapping into that behavior. Like, I remember when I was younger, trying to become a pro like soccer player before my college time with Bruno. And it's funny, I was like talking to my wife the other day, I was like watching a Liverpool highlight with Alisson, and I saw Alisson playing when he was 15. And I could tell already he was a monster at 15 years old. And that kind of behavior of like watching like under 18, under 17, under 15 games for the national team and other tournaments that we have in Brazil, but I have no way of participating. And even the information around these tournaments are very scarce. Mm-hmm. So the idea for us as a Rough Diamonds project is to become a sports IP, not only with NFTs, but in general focus on the long tail of athletes and youth soccer. We want to create different kinds of like merchandise and content and different projects around something that we think it's a white space in the market. If you look at the US, we have Overtime is a very good example, and someone that we look up to. They really tapped into high school basketball, and they created a lot of content around that, and they created a whole system of ambassadors that would record content for them. And we want to be that in the youth soccer space. We really think there's a lot of room to grow. And turning that into NFT makes you, participate in the journey of the player in some sense of shape or form. Because if you think about other projects, going back to what Bruno said before, that the autographs of the world, or the LaMelo Ball project was one that was really interested in early on. They have a peak in interest, but then they drop tremendously because the players are really busy and the upside is not there so much because one, they're not highly involved because there's no IP around them. It's an exclusive project about the player themselves. And we are like, okay, let's try to do something different here. Let's flip the script. Let's create an IP that focuses on these players and create an object of desire of them wanting to participate in this. And that's what we're trying to do here. So definitely the performance of a young player will influence how the project goes, right? There's some sort of like a speculation of like, oh, Mateus Lima is going to be the next Vini Jr. or Endrick is going to be the next Neymar, so forth, so on. And that's the kind of community that we want to be building.
Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong. Let's say that, let's put it out there. Let's say somebody like Messi goes and buys one of your Rough Diamond NFTs of a player. Potentially, if everyone can see that, then you know that player could be go up in value just based on Messi buying that player, right? Would you agree? So
absolutely, I think at the end of the day, it's all about you know, how exposed you are to the market, and there are a lot of players in the market that go for 40, 50, 60 million pounds, and some go for 100 million pounds, and I would say they're not valued at that, you know, at that price tag. So the market is pretty interesting when it comes to the value of players and why a collectible is valued more, why a player in the market is valued more. So it's all demand and supply at the end of the day. That's why this space is so fun. So absolutely, I think if Messi thinks one of our players is going to be the next star and he has one of them in his collection, I'm pretty sure people are going to be looking into it with more care and more detail.
Yeah. Not only that, not only in the NFT space, if you look at any space, it's like that. If you own an apartment, that is sometimes
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah.
You see on the news, Cristiano Ronaldo is looking to buy this apartment. Automatically, that increases the prices of every other apartment in the building. You know, if someone buys a piece of art and hangs it on the wall, who bought it? You know, so I really feel like, of course, having someone like Messi purchasing a NFT, it validates the idea that we're trying to do here and allowing the fan to own the game. I think I feel like that's the only way that this could actually happen, because of all the restrictions that FIFA has on the TPO and the third-party ownership. When you look at the market itself, it's very restricted for the player. The player is very dependent on the gatekeepers of the market, being the club and the agent himself. So he needs new ways to actually explore. His financial freedom is one of them. So I really see that as a great opportunity for the player and for the fan that can benefit from all of that as well.
Yeah. And Bruno touched on a very good point, just to finalize that portion, that for pretty much every single player, that was the first commercial contract they ever had. Like, we're talking about players that are like 15, 16, 17 years old with a lot of potential, and us becoming their first commercial partner, it matters a lot for us, and the relationship that we're building with them, it's something that we're really proud as well. Like, Bruno was with them in person to do a photo shoot not that long ago, and he was talking to them. He like, hey, like they know already about like the tokenomics about the project, and Bruno was like, what do you guys think about the 2 of 2, the one that we're going to give it to you? And Bruno had some interest intel. Do you want to share a little bit about that conversation, Bruno?
I was asking them, are you guys going to sell it? And he's like, are you crazy? I'm going to hold it. I'm going to use this as my profile picture on Instagram. I want everyone else to see. And I feel like you were talking about Messi purchasing this specific NFT, but I feel like these great stars purchasing any kind of NFTs and being involved in crypto helps a lot. Now we have Messi being sponsored by Socios. We have Cristiano Ronaldo sponsored by Binance. We have Neymar with his Bored Ape on every social media that he has. And that makes it a lot easier for us to explain to the players, to onboard the families, because they actually get it. You know, they get the stickers, they get the collectibles, they get the digital part. But when Neymar comes in and adds his own picture and changes it to a Bored Ape, they're like, okay, what is he trying to do? He's part of a community. He's trying to appreciate that asset in value. He has some exclusive benefits. So they get it from that, you know. So not only Messi buying it, but I feel like these great stars being into the space helps a lot, onboarding a lot of people into Web3. And when you look at the brands, they are also positioning themselves into that as well. You watch Formula One, every single sponsor on the Formula One track is crypto related. It's crypto.com, it's Binance, it's FTX, everyone is there because they know the power of sports. They know the power that the community has in terms of educating. It's a lot easier to explain to someone an NFT from a young, promising star from Brazil than any other cryptocurrency in the world at this stage. So I feel like the celebrities, they have a very big part on boarding new people and educating the market. And I feel like the market needs more and more education for us to actually be able to build something even bigger here.
Okay, and 100% I agree with it. And as we're talking about onboarding, I know I've kind of come at the angle of thinking about where does the value come from as a collector, but I think the thing we need to talk about is the value of the player. You kind of mentioned it earlier on, is the fact that these young guys may not be in a financial position to do anything. They're just playing football, and they're at the mercy of these clubs looking after them to a certain extent. So if they have another way they can make money by somebody supporting them, or whether fans or investors, does it kind of gives them an option potentially to not be swayed to go by their career by a financial situation, rather than just going where they feel they will perform best. Is that something you guys have thought about?
Yeah, definitely. When we think about it, like we feel like the Web2 has really, if you look at the music industry, doing an analogy here, yeah. When we think about the music industry, we understand that Web2 has really revolutionized the music industry. And I think Web3 has even more potential to disrupt even more what has done. When we think, let's think 10, 15, 20 years ago, how was it to record an album? How was it to record a label? And not only to record was super expensive if you're a talented, young, aspiring artist, and it's super expensive to produce it. It's super expensive to market, and it's super expensive to like get it out there, you know, to distribute it. And because they were all physical pieces of the CD that people had to listen to it. So the gatekeepers of the market are like the recording labels that are actually producing this, and they pick and choose who is going to actually become the next big star. And when you look at Spotify, when you look at YouTube, it has clearly democratized the access for anyone that has talent to go out there, record, attract your own community, try to create it, and actually do an impact on top of that. And when we look at the sports industry, we don't see that impact of Web2 that much on the athlete side. So we think that Web3 has the potential to actually allow these fans to look at these young players. Of course, these are initially very well selected players, but we can have anyone in the future creating their own tokens and allowing them, showing them, hey, this is how I play. Why not allow certain type of fans to actually believe in those guys and finance those young kids out there too? So we really believe that the Web3 has this potential to allow the fans to pick and choose, like not only the clubs, not only the agents, but anyone, anywhere in the world, to be able to say, hey, I think this kid has potential. I want to help him out, start his career, to kickstart his career. And we think that the project has this potential. When you think at the clubs, they have their memberships that you pay a monthly fee to have different kind of exclusive access, priority in buying tickets. Why not think of the same way for the players? The players, they have that as well. They have their memorabilia, they have their jerseys, they have their cleats, they have their personal experience that they can share with these fans, and which of course grows in interest with the growth of the player's career. So I feel like that's where we're going with this, and that's where we see. And in my opinion, this could be this second biggest revenue stream that the player will have in his career.
Okay, it's interesting. You mentioned obviously you guys are focusing just 11 players at this current point, but you want to obviously help as many people as possible. Is this going to open up to more players in the future, or is it just solely staying at 11? Because if it stays at 11 and then there's 101 NFTs, if I stand correct, per player, then there's only going to be less than 2,000 people being able to invest in these NFTs. So then the community is going to be, the community that has these NFTs are going to be very small.
Yeah, I can take this one. It's interesting, right? We had this discussion about doing something larger, and we get this question from investors a lot. Like and teams and clubs as well. They're like, can we tokenize the whole like youth teams? You know, this is the pretty heavy overhead from is the biggest overhead for a lot of the clubs, right? They train these kids since they're very young, paying for everything until they can sell them in the market and make it a profit, right? So they were like, how can we tokenize everything? And we're just not there yet. That's something that we really believe in the next several years is going to eventually happen. I believe everything has the potential to be tokenized. Not everything should be tokenized, but everything has the potential to be tokenized. And I think youth soccer is definitely one of them. The way they were describing you, believing in the potential of certain players and offsetting some of the costs of this training of this player at the end of the day. But with Rough Diamonds itself, the idea is to be an exclusive list of the top footballers. We want this to be an object of desire for the players, for the agents, and other stakeholders. So we're doing 11 in Brazil. We're going to do 11 each year for each market, and we're going to expand as we go. We already have plans to go to Argentina, the UK, some other countries in Asia. So we really believe that more and more we can expand, and this can be a scalable model. It's pretty much being the Forbes 30 under 30 for footballers. That's like how we're describing to a lot of people in the business world. And for those football aficionados, is like the golden boot, right? Who is the best player in Europe under 21? We want to be the best 11 players under 18. So this is how we're approaching the tokenomics of the project. For this first drop, we're doing, as Bruno said, 101 tokens for each player on a total of 1,111. We're playing a lot with the 11 number. We think it's fun, and we think the collectors are going to appreciate that as well. So yeah, so that's how we're approaching pretty much how we're going to scale in terms of different markets and different players. But there's always room for new things. We're not set in stone that this is the right model. We are, learning with the community, experimenting with partners, and seeing like what sticks and what makes sense for collectors. So we're flexible, we're open, and we believe that this is a model that could be the one, but we're open to other ideas as well.
I mean, I love the idea, but the thing is that it happens to a lot of NFT projects, especially that have a lot of hype and interest around it, is that, okay, you got crypto investors, you got whales, and then you got fans. Okay, the entry level for the NFT might be low, but these guys can go buy 50 NFTs, and the real fans don't get anything. So let's say I'm a hardcore fan of one of the teams in the Brazil. I've been following this young guy from the age of 7, and I've supported the team he plays for. And these NFTs come out, and this is amazing. I'm thinking, yeah, this is fantastic, but I don't even get a chance to get this NFT to support him because everyone's seen it more as an investment rather than being a true supporter. How do you manage that, or if you do?
Yeah, I know, absolutely. I think that's a crucial thing about our project that we, like places like here in your podcast, Sean, we keep saying, and we're trying to stay away from the speculators by just saying this is a long-term project. So if you're in it for the ride, come join us. You're not going to be able to turn a quick buck flipping our NFTs. And we're doing everything that we can to avoid these kind of situations, especially with our drop mechanics and the way that we're accepting people in our early access list. We're curating the people that we think should be collectors, the people that are interested in the space. We're doing a lot of talks for different groups where me and Bruno go pretty much on a road show for the project. Like people go around trying to get investors. That's how we're approaching our collectors and our holders. We're being very careful with who we are attracting to the project at the end of the day. I think something that we're going to have to deal with, the speculators are everywhere. So it's just a part of the business. We're not naive to like the amount of speculators in the space and a lot of the market dynamics around NFTs, but we're doing everything we can to stay away from them and truly get fans involved and people that believe in the long-term process that we're trying to build here. So the short answer is like, we understand that this is something that exists, and we're doing everything we can to bring the right crowd and the right people to our community.
And there are so many of them. There are 3.5 billion fans of the sport around the world. It's just a matter of educating them and onboarding them into crypto, and since it is by itself, by the concept of it, a long-term project, we need to think long-term, and thinking long-term means choosing very well who do we partner with, who are the players, who are the agents, what are their families, Are they actually going to be involved? What are the conditions of the contract that we can actually get with them? Getting them on board, as I said, in terms of revenue, in terms of generating new revenue for them as well, but actually choosing the fans. I think that choosing the collectors, I think that's a very important point that Andre touched. And I feel like that's what makes a difference in a successful NFT project, because I think anyone can do something short term, put it there and then disappear, but there are very few that are community reliable, that the community really leaves what's being done there. And I feel like to add to your previous point about the long tail now, that the players that are outside of the big scope, I feel like we are going in a direction that we really want the community to actually have. We don't want to be the only decision-making people in the business. You know, we want people to actually take part and like help us decide what's the future of Rough Diamonds, where are we gonna go next, where are the next players. We can help with the short list, but like we don't want to do the entire process all the time. You know, we really want people to get engaged and participate because they are part of it. They are the owners of the project. You know, that's how we actually see the decentralization and of this project. So I think that's something that we're gonna see more and more into our project, allowing the fans to actually not only say it but actually own the game.
Okay, I like that. I've got an idea. I'm going to pitch it to you guys now. I've been thinking based on what I just said, I kind of think this would potentially answer the question that I was asking. Okay, so we as a football fan, even as a sports fan, we have experiences. We see it on TV where the guy catches the baseball, you get the football, you might take it home, or you might take that shirt home. So we start looking at things like digital fashion, for example, and we know that we can get tags, these NFC readers that can be linked to potentially an NFT. So as maybe if you put a few like maybe 10 away for when a player gives his jersey away to somebody in the crowd, they can claim an NFT, a Rough Diamond NFT based on the giving that jersey. So they get the physical item, and with that physical item, they're able to scan it and get the digital NFT.
I feel like Sean has been into some of our meetings, Bruno. He's part of Rough Diamonds and we don't even know. Sean, this is something that we talk often. We already have some initiatives around that. There are two different things that we're doing right now. I'm going to answer the last one first, actually. So one of the NFTs, 11 of the NFTs, one from each player, will come with their first professional jersey signed. So you're gonna be able to retrieve that like physical memorabilia, the actual jersey from their first professional game or one of the first games that they play. One of our players already is in the pro teams for Flamengo. But that's the magic of gamification. If you want the actual asset, you can retrieve it, but if you sell it in the secondary market with the jersey still, of course, it has a different value. So it depends on the holder to retrieve the jersey and keep just the digital collectible. Or if he wants to just maximize his upside, he can sell it with the jersey attached. So that's one thing that we're doing that we think it's pretty cool from a memorabilia perspective. And the second one, in the digital fashion, we actually created 3 different kits, home, away, and a special one. For Rough Diamonds, we want people to be part of the team. We were discussing if they should be managers, as you said, with Football Manager, or if they should be scouts. Like, what's the kind of behavior they're having with our community? And at the end of the day, people want to be a part of the team. Nobody grows up saying they want to be a coach, or a manager, right? They want to be a player. So we created the digital jerseys for Rough Diamonds. We're gonna do 1,000 of them as well. It's gonna be a small batch for the community, and they're going to give different perks within the Rough Diamonds universe. If you're not going to be able to just to mint the Rough Diamonds athletes NFTs, but also you're going to be able to get these airdrops from the community. So we're doing a lot of these giveaways on our Discord for the early members, for some other community partnerships. That's something that we're huge into as well. We think a lot of growth from NFTs right now. It's not the same as it used to be a year ago, where a lot of projects were getting traction just because of the novelty of NFTs. I think go-to-market right now is a pretty big piece when it comes to this, and airdrops is definitely part of our strategy with the fan digital jerseys. They look incredible. I'm a little biased to say that. Our artist and co-founder, Rafael Dante, is an incredible artist, digital and physical world. and he created some awesome jerseys. I can show you offline, Sean, so you can take a peep at it. But they're a little under behind the scenes for now. But this is something that is pretty big in our space. We think digital fashion, fan jerseys, things of that nature are going to be a big part of our business. They're going to serve as not only early access to the mint, but also some other perks around the partnerships that we're creating as well.
Yeah, we always had this idea of creating this access pass. So really understanding who really is early into the project, you know. So the people that come in first, they get this specific jersey. The people come in later, they get this jersey. The people that come in later, they get the home jersey. And then the people that come in further, they get no jersey, but they'll be like, they will need to allow everyone else or the priority access to then be able to mint. So we really want to create this community, and that's a very funny story because we were producing the jerseys for the shoot with the players. We wanted to do a specific customized jersey with rough diamonds and everything for the pictures and the videos. And in parallel, we were thinking about the access pass. You know, how is it going to look? Is it going to be a ticket? It's going to be so we're really brainstorming ideas, and then our artist comes up and he draws the jersey for the shoot, and then we look at the jersey and we look at each other and we're like, that's the pass, you know. It looks so beautiful. Like he did it in a 3D model that was turning. We're like, okay, this is exactly what we needed. And people, not only did the jersey look super cool, but in terms of our concept that we're building, people are actually wearing the jersey. You know, they're coming in early. They are part of it. They're part of the family. So that was super cool what we did. And we are slowly releasing to our Discord community the very first people that are logging in. We are releasing the diamond jersey first, which there are only going to be 50 of those.
Right.
Then there's going to be the away jersey, which is a silver jersey. There's going to be 350 of those. And then there's the home jersey, which is the black jersey. Then there's going to be 600 of those. And as Andres said, they're going to have priority, and they're going to have special perks within the community. If you own a rare, plus if you run a rare of a specific player, and then you own a diamond jersey, you multiply your chances of unlocking different experiences. So that's how we see it. And building a community, it's definitely on the and engaging with the community and being there, you know, and listening to everyone. It's top of our priority at this moment, and will be for the continuation of the project.
I love that, man. Like that's what excites me. I think that fans will appreciate that because it's something that you can, if you're lucky, you can be a part of it. But what I want to make sure if you guys can do is making sure that the player gives it to the fan, because like imagine if that was a standard thing. Every time you get a jersey, there's a possibility that you might get to meet that player through the access, or might get experience with that player. Then that shirt becomes a lot more valuable than hanging up on your wall, right? So obviously you guys are hot onto that, man. So I'd love to see that in the future, how that can work. But let's talk about a player, an actual player, because you've got 11 players. So I've highlighted one player, not being biased because I don't actually know any of the players as such, but because I don't follow Brazilian football. But it's Andre Felipe. Yeah, so he's a 15-year-old. I seen the other day by chance. I seen the other day, he actually scored for the team, and he's only 15. So that's amazing. That proves that he's got some sort of talent, and he's got a lot of potential. Tell me a bit about that player, or another player that you personally excited about.
Yeah, well, I can talk about Hendrik because it's a interesting story, because when we started building the idea of Rough Diamonds, we started talking to the agents that were closer to us. And the very first agent that I spoke to, this was probably November last year, and he told me about Hendrik. And I had never heard of Hendrik, to be completely honest. And I checked him on Instagram. He had like 30,000 followers, verified status, looked like a very good player, but I had never heard of him, you know. And then in January in Brazil, there is this the largest Latin America youth tournament happens between January and February. It's called Copinha, Copa São Paulo. Mm-hmm. And because of the pandemic, it didn't happen last year. So this year it was an under 21 tournament. It's usually under 19. So this year was an under 21, and Hendrik is 15 years old. And I was like, I don't think he's even playing, you know, like he's 15 playing against under 21. But I was like, I'll check it out. And there's always a joke in Brazil with Palmeiras, with the team that he plays for, that they had never won this tournament. So the other teams, they made fun of them by singing songs out loud in the stadium that they never won Copinha.
Yeah.
And that was like super interesting. And I started watching the tournament, and he's right there. He's the number 9 of the team. And I was like, isn't it under 21, this tournament? And they were like, yeah, but he's still playing. So that was very shocking for everyone that he was playing, that he was starting for Palmeiras, which is a big jersey in Brazil. And not only he was playing, but the very first few matches, he was starting to score like amazing goals, like bicycles from outside of the box. And everyone is like, what is this? Like, what is going on? Who is this guy? So everyone started to look into this kid who had, at that moment, 30,000 followers. No one knew him in Brazil. I mean, people that actually follow youth football in the country, they actually got a feeling that he could be good, but not that good, And then he started playing, and then he was the top scorer. Just to summarize the story, he was the top scorer of the league, of the tournament. They were champions, and he was elected the best player, and he won the best goal. There was nothing left for him to win at the tournament at age of 15. Beating players, and this makes a lot of difference. Like, who's involved in soccer, in football, they know that, like, especially when you are 31 and you play against someone 34, doesn't really make a difference, But when you're 15 and you play against someone 21, it makes a huge difference. So that was the big moment that he had, and he went from 30,000 followers to over 1 million followers in a couple of months. And everyone started talking about him. Real Madrid started looking into him. Barcelona started looking into him. And he didn't even sign his professional contract yet. He will sign it next month when he actually turns 16. So right now there is a very big expectation. Right after that tournament, Brazil went to play against the Montaigu tournament in France that we hadn't won in over 24 years. And again, champion, best player, top scorer. So every single, I saw someone on Twitter the other day, they were like, because they won another tournament last week. They won the Brazilian Cup under 17 now. And he only played the under 17 because he was already training with the under 20, because the under 20 didn't have any tournament. So he asked to play the youth 17 tournament, and they won. He was a top scorer, best player. And I saw a guy on Twitter saying, hey, I think we should take this guy to the World Cup, because, and I was like, he's 15 years old. And the guy's like, I know, but everything else he played, he won. He was the best player and he was the top scorer. So there's a very big expectation right now on top of him. He's the number 9. That Brazil currently misses a true good number 9, like Ronaldo, Adriano style. We have very good wingers. We have very good midfielders. I think we struggle a little bit defining that center man up forward, which was my position in college. I say that I'm a lost generation. I could be there helping them, but unfortunately, I decided to deep dive into NFTs and Web3. But I think it could potentially be the next big star of Brazil. But not only him, we have Matheus França, who is playing for Flamengo, already has an interest from Real Madrid, 18 years old. Unfortunately, broke his leg a few months ago, but is already playing, getting back into shape, and should be joining the professionals again. We have Luis Guilherme Lira, who was also part of Andrew. We have João Cruz from Atlético Paranaense. We have a very good, really the very best in the country.
All the players, Bruno, all the players are part of the Brazil national team. Either under 18, under 17, or under 15. All these kids, like, we did a whole scouting process with Bruno's contact from Brazil to get a very specific list of the players with the most potential, like under 18. So we did a very thorough job in terms of who are these players, and really filtering them to see who should be part of this project. Of course, Indrik stands out because everything that Bruno said, but I wouldn't discard the other players coming up right there. They're incredible talent. They might not have the media awareness at this moment, but in terms of talent and potential, when you see some of these kids, you're going to be like, wow, nobody's talking about this kid. It's just because they're really, really young, but all of them have the potential and are part of the Brazil national team already.
And there's so many stories as well. You look at Kaká's story. Kaká became the biggest player in the world and was an amazing player for Milan, especially for AC Milan. And when he was at the youth level, he wasn't really playing. He never made, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think he ever made it to the youth national team. And you have these other kids that were on top at like very high youth level that didn't really make it. And you have the players like Neymar, who everyone knew that this kid was going to be special. And he actually became, and he is special. So you have all kinds of stories around. And I think that's what's fun, because I've been receiving from the last month that we started speaking about the project and bringing people in. I have been receiving every single day some news about one of the 11 players, from investors, from friends, from parents, from their own parents. I have been receiving that. And you see that people are getting engaged, and I think that's the feeling that we want to create. We want people to we want that feeling that when you're playing a fantasy game, and even if you put a player that doesn't play for your team, or even plays against your team, but you kind of support that guy's scores. You hope your team wins, but you kind of hope that guy scores so you can get some points in the fantasy league, And we have been seeing that some Corinthians supporter, they're looking at that and they're like, okay, but Endrick is special, You see some Vasco supporter, but they know that Mateus França, Felipe Lima, that Mateus Gonçalves, they are at that level as well, So I'm really happy with the feeling that we're getting from the fans. That is still initial, but that's exactly where we want to be.
So I want to ask, based on what you're saying there, based on the performance, obviously up and down, injuries that can happen, are you guys introducing dynamic NFTs into the mix in regards to things changing? If you've got an NFT, things can change depending on what the player's performance is like, depending on maybe if they win a cup or if they win certain medals or player of the year. Like, is there anything that can be added? Is that something you're thinking about, or is going to be added on down the line?
Yeah, we're definitely adding like dynamic elements, I would say. We're not using the chain links and oracles or protocols like that specifically around dynamic NFTs. Our CTO, Ariel Alexandre, is a monster in Web3 technology and comes from the Web2 world. He's been around for a minute in terms of like entrepreneurship and technology products. He has his own proprietary Web3 products. So he's building everything from a dynamic perspective that like it's gonna evolve as the players achieve milestones or big moments in their careers. But we're not using, I hate to say traditional, but we're not using the usual oracles that people are used to when it comes to dynamic NFTs, but we're using dynamic elements, leveraging Ariel's products that he has built in the past.
Okay, so you're not allowed to speak about how you'll be using that, or we'll have to share a little bit?
Being really honest, I'm just not the technology guy, and I'll hate to murder what Ariel has built. But I wouldn't speak with the accuracy and property that he would. But he's our CTO, and I'll love for him to meet you at one point. But yeah, we're definitely adding dynamic elements. It just makes sense from a career perspective, right? Especially when you start early on and as you evolve to have these kind of elements added to the project.
Okay, all right, cool. So obviously all excitement around the players performing, so much potential of the project. When is it dropping? When's it dropping? What chain? How can we get these NFTs and support these players?
Well, date-wise, we're actually currently doing the jersey drop. Wow. For the very early users in our community, we're bringing them in and we're doing the jerseys distribution. We're having a number of partnerships as well, bringing them in, and we believe that in a couple months it's going to be pre World Cup, the drop of the players. So I mean that's going to be for sure. We don't want to set a date on stone, but we want to drop whenever we feel that community is ready for it, that we have enough people that actually bought into the project, to the concept, that we have the right people in. And as soon as we feel that, and we feel like the people are ready for it, we will drop it and have a lot of fun along the way.
Okay. What chain?
Yeah, I was about to say Ethereum mainnet. We just thought it made sense for the type of project that we're building. Not a lot of tokens, was just more specific to Ethereum. We're going to do the minting on our website and on our landing page. Going to be a lazy minting. And we're partnering with Rarible and OpenSea as well for secondary sales.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. Okay. Why not a layer 2? Because that seems to be a thing. Or are you waiting on the hard fork with the Ethereum proof of stake? Like, why do you pick Ethereum over any other proof of stake protocols?
It was just mainly a decision around what made sense for the project. If we had a lot of volume, if gas fees were a big issue, we were either go with like Polygon, Solana. We even were considering immutable X for the actual jerseys. But because of the volume of tokens that we have and just the security around like Ethereum, we thought it made sense for the type of project that we're releasing.
And you're doing a staggered drop then, so the 101 NFTs for the player. As soon as the NFTs it's available, are you doing like 101 drop in that one time and available to get, or is it going to be 101 over the year?
It's going to be throughout batches. It's going to be a short window that we're going to do it. We haven't decided if it's going to be throughout a week or 2 weeks, but we are definitely not going to release all of them for minting from the get-go. And we're going to randomize them. As you can tell, like some of the players have more media awareness than others, and we would hate if everyone just goes to one player just because that's the only one they heard about it, and they could miss on another player that we know that has the potential. So we're going to randomize all the different rarity traits and different frames and the different players and different utility attached to them. As you can tell, we have like very special utility when it comes to memorabilia, access, culture, and things like partnerships, as Bruno said. So the perks attached to them as well are going to be different. So we're just going to randomize and see like where people feel the most comfortable with in secondary sales by acquiring different players. So we think the magic is going to be seeing what are the behaviors and where they're going for after we do the primary sale that is going to be randomized.
Yeah, and the randomized idea also, not only that, but it comes from the stickers. It comes from the albums that you go to the shop and you don't ask for, oh, I want Neymar, I want the Brazilian shiny sticker to complete my album. You get a pack, and then you open it and you have to actually collect, and then you have to stick, and then you have to change with friends. So I feel like we're trying to replicate that idea into the digital space as well, and also allow every player to have an opportunity. So I think that's the idea behind it.
Yeah, I love that, man. I look forward to it. I love to get one myself and support one of these players. I have to look and do a little research and follow their stories and see who I want to invest in and be a part of somebody's journey. But just to round it off, guys, obviously, just a question I always love to ask guests to tap into their minds. Maybe we can aim it just target around sport. I'll ask you individually. I'll start with Bruno. I want you to describe to me how you see things in the next, say, 10 years. You wake up in the morning. How's NFTs being used within the world and the world of, within, especially around the world of like sport and whatnot? How are you using NFTs? How's it been applied? What are people doing?
I think in 10 years, we're going to be able to expand it into other territories, into other countries. And the early community that has been betting on these players or getting on board of this player's journey, they will be actually getting some benefits out of that, because you're looking into a player who is 16, but who is 15 in 10 years is going to be 25, probably at the peak of his career, playing Champions League, playing FIFA World Cup, playing the biggest tournaments out there. So I feel like the people that are coming in early, they're gonna be benefiting from all of that experience from this community that we're gonna be creating, and new players are gonna be born, and the process continues. I feel like it's an ongoing process of finding the players and generating exclusive experience for those people, and the more we can do that, the more I feel like we can grow. And I think the education process, not only about crypto, not only about but also about the power of communities. When you look at the Web2, how did Facebook start? They started with a community of people at Harvard that had the specific email that they were finding each other, and then from there they went to another school. I feel like that's exactly what we're trying to do here in Web3 in sports, showing the players and the fans the power of communities, what we can achieve with that. And I think we're going to be creating a lot of exclusive experiences, allowing these people that are coming in early to have, amazing time with the player, amazing time with other fans as well from that, and potentially in other sports, why not think about other segments even? Why not look at music, at art, people that are actually trying to get their work out there. So I see a lot of potential for expansion. We have been talking about the content creation behind all of this. How can we tell the story to more and more people? And how can we do it in a Web3 style? How can we have the token holders own the rights of this TV show or these rights that we're going to create? We don't want to be, it's not a traditional company. It's a company where everyone owns everything that is around the project. So I see a lot of opportunities. I see the infrastructure being much easier to onboard people that are not traditionally accustomed to purchasing Ethereum, to purchasing Polygon. So I think the future is bright, and we're definitely looking forward to that.
And Andre, just to round it off, I want you to give a perspective of how you see the next 10 years within sport and NFTs. So rather than just you guys just looking as a whole, how is NFTs going to disrupt the industry?
Absolutely. I think this is a prime opportunity for clubs in two different perspectives. The first one being it's a new revenue generator, right? It's a new way to monetize and engage with fans. And I think that's going to keep increasing. Clubs need to be very smart of how they approach this. We saw what happened to Liverpool. We saw what happened to other teams and player-specific projects. You need to be really careful first about your reputation and your heritage in terms of like a brand as a club, right? So you need to be smart of how you show up in the space. And long term, I think for sports in general, it's a perfect IP builder. Bruno and I talk often about this specifically for Rough Diamonds and all the things he just described. But I think NFTs and Web3, they are really the prime technology infrastructure to build IP, because you can bring people along the journey with you and they can have potential upside on the different things that you're going to do. So in terms of sports, it's one of the biggest passion points in humanity, right? Like it's part of who you are. It's like somewhat of a religion to some people. So how can you bring these people closer, leveraging NFTs and these people being your community? They already exist. They're already passionate. So in 10 years, I really think, as I said in the beginning, I think that's a pretty good full circle for the conversation. Everything will be able to be tokenized. Not everything should. And the winners are going to be the ones that can figure out that intersection in terms of fan engagement, monetization, and community.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. Well, thank you guys, Andre, Bruno. Thank you for coming on and sharing your project with us and the potential. I'm excited for you guys are doing and contributing to the space. Just around, where can people find you? Obviously, we want people to come and support and buy the NFTs. Where's the best place to find you guys?
I think the easiest way is through our website. So it's roughdiamonds.io.
Yeah.
And there you're going to find the link to our Discord community. You're going to find a link to the early access community as well. And you can find us on Twitter, on Instagram with 11 Rough Diamonds. So yeah, join us.
What regards to partnerships, anyone want to contact you? They felt they were perfect collaboration or partners with you guys. Where can I reach you guys to also? Is it same place or personal?
We have a special channel on Discord for partnerships. They can reach out to us on LinkedIn as well, or Twitter, or I mean, we are out there.
You're active. I love that. But guys, thanks again for coming on and sharing the gems. Thanks everyone for listening and watching, and I hope everyone stays listening and stays blessed.